Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game Mess. So, Derek and I will tell you right now, this is going to be the most excited I am probably all of the month of May. That is because Silent Scope Bone Eater is going to be coming to you to play in TeknoParrot as of this Saturday. And Reaver, one of the developers of TeknoParrot, sent this over in advance for me to both test on my system as well as to get a capture to let you guys know it is coming. And if you know me and you know the channel, you know damn well I love a good Konami arcade light gun game, and I absolutely love the Silent Scope franchise, so much so that I own basically every single original arcade board in the franchise and every single port outside of Silent Scope Bone Eater. That is because this was a Japanese exclusive arcade cabinet, and while the game is a ton of fun, it didn't really have all that many installations in Japan, at least from what I've been told by collectors over there that I talked to. But as of Saturday, you're going to be able to play this thing in TeknoParrot. I'm telling you right now, the implementation is stunning and the game is absolutely fun. And it's one of those things, every time I go into playing a game that I've always been excited to experience but I've never played before, I always keep the thought in the back of my head. The reality is this thing could suck. I've definitely hunted a lot of rare arcade games in the past, and I'd say 7 out of 10 times they're exactly what I want them to be, but every once in a while you end up thinking something is going to be amazing and then you realize it is just absolutely not fun. But the good thing is Silent Scope Bone Eater lived up to all of the expectations I had in my head, and I don't usually say it on the channel all that much, but this game just absolutely fucking kills it in every way, shape, or form. And it's one of those things, not having played the game before, I wasn't sure what to expect. Honestly, in the back of my head, I thought it might be an arcade game about your mother in high school, but it is that classic Silent Scope sniper action. And if you love that formula, then this gives you absolutely everything you need, but of course with a complete tonal shift, because unlike all the other Silent Scope games, this has a futuristic setting, and absolutely, in my opinion, it works for pivoting the franchise up into a newer, more modern audience. And I totally get that might not be for everyone, and I totally get that Silent Scope, at least in the US, has not seen for a very long time. It's one of those things, the original game absolutely just became an arcade hit, and all the other games that came after it were a fun time as well, but it is a franchise that I feel like has been forgotten about, at least by most gamers out there. So leave me a comment down below and you tell me, how many Silent Scope games have you played, and have you ever actually heard of Bone Eater before? I feel like this one is just going to be a surprise to basically 9 out of 10 of you, because again, an arcade game that never actually left Japan, that didn't really have all that many cabinets out in the wild, it is a very unique thing. But like every single Silent Scope game, if you can find the woman in the level and get a close-up on certain aspects of her, you will get a little bit of health up. Now you will see here on screen that there are 2 independent monitors. You're going to have your sniper screen, and then you're going to have basically the main gameplay screen. In arcades, and I have talked to a few people that have played this, basically you had a semi-transparent screen to kind of give you a better depth of field effect. Something that even if you found the arcade board, and trust me, I've been looking, is going to be extremely difficult to actually get running in a home environment. So the TeknoParrot devs here have basically separated those screens into 2 different distinct play areas, and it absolutely does the job of working the way you need it to. That was my second worry about the game, outside of whether or not it's going to be fun, whether or not functionality-wise it was going to be something that was enjoyable to play. And I will tell you right now, I had no issues playing the game from start to finish. I saw the credits scroll, and there weren't really any issues whatsoever. The one thing you do need to know is that when you first play the game, a couple of shaders are going to have to catch, so maybe play the game for like the first 3-4 minutes, go ahead and exit out, and then go back in. You'll see right here this little night vision section where you see that checkerboard for like 3 seconds. That was everything caching in, so I left it in the video so you guys could better understand that. It's never obtrusive and it never gets in the way of the gameplay, but it's something that you might want to know about. And I love arcade preservation, I love the history of arcade, and you know if you watch the channel, I love Konami arcade light gun games. And now every single Silent Scope game has been preserved and made playable. And something like this, if TeknoParrot didn't do it, it would be lost to time eventually when the arcade cabinets ended up being pulled from arcade floors. But let's go over the first of 2 soundtrack samples, because audio quality is every bit as important when it comes to emulation as the actual gameplay and video quality. So go ahead and listen for the next 45 seconds, but come back and I'll tell you how to play the game and how to get it set up correctly.
UEN のスタルカ大佐です。協力感謝します。人質の安全は確認しました。我々で救助に向かいます。周辺にまだ相当数のテロリストが潜んでいます。 あなた方にはその排除を頼みます。了解した。行くぞ。
よっ、こりゃ報酬は倍もらわないとな。
So not only is the audio quality working really well in TeknoParrot, but I absolutely love the overall vibes of the soundtrack as well, and that really is the thing about Silent Scope Bone Eater, at least for me personally. As far as playing the game is concerned, it is in my opinion the total package. You get all of the fun Silent Scope gameplay that we've been playing for forever, you get a really amazing soundtrack and a completely new aesthetic with this kind of futuristic Neo-Tokyo anime vibe thing going on. And of course, if you love Silent Scope, you're going to love this here because it is the same gameplay loop. You're also going to have two different buttons so you can zoom the scope in and out, because sometimes going a little bit further out is actually going to be to your benefit. Now, if you do want to play this one, and I'm not going to show it to you on screen because trust me, it's not that hard, it's very boring footage, you're going to need to do two things when you actually launch the game. You're going to see an error message, you're going to have to hit the test button because you have to calibrate your controls, and you also have to set the clock for the actual quote-unquote arcade board. And if you don't calibrate, you can't look at all the Bone Eater goodness content that Konami is showing you here. And the nice thing is, you can basically use any control scheme you want, but I will say I'd recommend some over the others. I tried this out with Gun for IR, worked exceptionally well. I tried it with my trackball mouse, and that was also a good time. But because analog stick, something like an Xbox Series X controller that you could use with this, will return to center every time you let off, you're kind of fighting that tension. I'm sure some people could get it done, but I would recommend a mouse, Gun for IR. Send in anything like that that allows you to actually control the mouse. Now, of course, you're going to have to be very stable, so I did some of this capture with my trackball as well, and I would say that was actually my favorite way to play the game. It just depends on your mouse sensitivity, and you might want to adjust that before you play, because trust me, some of these shots here are going to be very granular. And of course, in the arcade, you had that big kind of Silent Scope controller with the eyepiece that you would look through, and because that is so big, it would allow you to have a little bit more weight to keep that shot steady. So I'm sure you'll come up with a control scheme, whatever works for you, but the only thing, like I said, I would not recommend is maybe just an analog controller, because that snap back to center is going to be a bit of an issue. But I am highly impressed with what the TeknoParrot team has done here, because sometimes, and it makes sense, it does take a lot of work, the first release might be a little bit buggy. I played through this game multiple times from start to finish. I didn't have a single crash, a single issue whatsoever. It ran well, the graphics worked, the audio quality was exactly what it needed to be. Again, 10 out of 10 just recommend. And for those of you that think that basically all modern games have made people ugly in their design, you're going to have a lot of bone-eating content here if you follow the joke. And honestly, it's not a thing I care about, but I figured I would mention it because some people definitely remark on that in videos. But this is just super fun, because if you know me and you know the channel, I genuinely care about arcade gaming preservation, and that's why when I can, with my Discord, I find lost games and dump them for everyone to enjoy. Because these games are definitely at risk of going extinct once the arcade cabinets leave the arcade floor, if it isn't for teams like TeknoParrot and others making sure that they are playable for all time. And when the game is as good as Silent Scope Bone Eater, that is going to be a win for absolutely everybody. But it's time for the second soundtrack sample, because I think this music really does work in conjunction with the game's visuals, and it sounds incredible coming out of TeknoParrot. So go ahead and listen, I'll be right back with more.
Capture. Capture.
空の強いやつね。アンドロイド兵に囲まれた。スポッター、民間人の救出を援護してください。やつに逃げられてしまう。
援軍はまだか。
こんなところで足止めされて余裕はないだ。
そんなこと言ってる場合か。やるぞ。
腕だ。来るぞ。
So yeah, there's not much else to say. Silent Scope Bone Eater is now playable on your PC in TeknoParrot, and because I've always wanted to play this game and I had high expectations, I was generally worried that the game wouldn't actually live up to them, because that is really what we all do in our heads when we can't experience something, whether it's a video game, a film, a book, or otherwise. We kind of just basically make up this reality where the thing that we're expecting to experience one day is just going to be absolutely incredible, and sometimes it just doesn't live up to the hype that we build in our own heads. Well, I am happy to say that Silent Silent Scope Bone Eater actually ended up being better than I expected, from the gameplay to the story to the overall visual elements to the soundtrack. Everything here just 100% hits. Like you see there, that was my first playthrough. Every once in a while the shaders will take a couple seconds to cache in, or longer depending on your system, but through the second playthrough you will not have that issue whatsoever. And this thing does have multiple pathways and multiple different ways to play the game, including multiple modes. So trust me, this is one you're going to want to give more than one play session to anyway. And as far as arcade preservation is concerned, this is one of the biggest emulation updates of 2026 in my opinion, even if it might only be that for me. But short of that, we're done. We'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.